What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now Plus. I'm Alex, and in this video, I want to talk about the Penguin. Just want to kind of rant about it, but rant in a positive way. Is that necessarily ranting? Look, I just finished the season finale, and I hope it is just season 1, and there's more to come. But if not, series finale. I watched it last night, day behind, but I wanted to get a video like this out. I reviewed episodes 1 through 4, actually, for a members-only video on Podcast Now. I thought, okay, let's do just the entire season, and actually kind of more specifically, the last couple episodes and even just the finale in this video. Let me just say, the show's phenomenal. I don't watch a lot of television, and it's why I'm always kind of hesitant to even do show reviews. It's like, you know, if you're going to watch somebody, I mean, I do have passion for this thing, and I think this show was unbelievably good. There's a few things that I wish maybe were a little bit better, but overall, I mean, I went through just an emotional arc. All these characters went through an emotional arc, and it got me to care so much about this character and kind of care about like any theme that they were trying to do with Gotham, with kind of this criminal underbelly, with Penguin rising up, with all this like class kind of dynamics. It got me to care about all of it. Okay, so I really freaking love this show, but that is coming from somebody who doesn't watch a lot of television. So when I say, you know, this is one of the better shows that I've seen and I like absolutely loved it, my bar, I mean, I don't really know if I have a bar, right? I really don't watch a lot of shows, but I just kind of want to say that you know, going into it, you know, I saw IGN's 5. I think everybody saw IGN's 5, right? And, you know, after even just the first episode, I couldn't believe that they gave it a 5 out of 10. And I don't base things based off IGN's show reviews. I don't base anything off of their reviews in general, but certainly not their shows. But I mean, just from the beginning, it gets you to care about every single one of these characters. Like, there's not a bad character out there, but specifically like Oz, right? And I said this in my episodes 1 through 4. I don't even like to call him Penguin. I mean, I know that was a theme of the show itself too, right? Like, he does not like to be called that. In fact, like, when you mock him like that and you start to kind of belittle him, that's when he snaps. And even just that idea in and of itself, I think, is freaking phenomenal. And going through, like, and this is all spoilers. I'm just going to start, like, throwing things out there, just the things that kind of come to my mind. You know, what he does to his brothers, right? Like, now, they painted an interesting picture in episode 8. And I'm not here to sit and tell you that, like, Oz is right and I'm, like, backing him. It's actually, I think, quite tragic because I really liked him and the charisma and charm that they're purposely painting, right? Because what are they painting with Oz, right, throughout this entire show? This is a guy who's very much a narcissist. This is a guy who cares about himself and he says all of the things that he needs to hear. He tries to say things other people need to hear, and he does that well too. But he also is always fooling himself, and I freaking love that. And at the same time, he's got that charisma and energy, and he does have like a heart, okay? With Victor, with his mom. He's got those moments where it's like, okay, he's not even all that bad at times. And it's like, okay, you can see how you can root for him and why he's the protagonist, you know, of this show, right? Maybe like an anti-hero, whatever you want to say. But like episode 8, and also what he does with his brothers, like it's very hard to root for him because, you know, he takes his brothers out. His mom knew the entire time. That was something I didn't really see coming. Like, I thought the whole idea was that she was going to like remember it, or maybe like she did know and she blocked that out of her memory, or something like that. I mean, I guess that's kind of what they did, right? She kind of suppressed it, right? She pushed all of those emotions down. She hated this guy, right? She resented him every day of his life, and she lived every single day for freaking decades knowing what he did and just like being around him, knowing how terrible he is, and he has no remorse. He lies, right? He doesn't even think he actually did it, like in that way. No, I guess in terms, again, one of the negatives or things I'm kind of curious on, the way that it painted it from his mom was that he did it to have her all to himself. Now, I think that's part of it. Like, you know, the young Oz does such a phenomenal freaking job as well. Like, every actor in this, from Sophia to, you know, Oz and Victor and and seeing Mr. Krabs, of course, is always a great thing. So good. But, you know, I mean, I don't know. When they showed him close the door, I mean, he's got a way of snapping, right? Like, that's something that I thought they were doing throughout the entire season, is when you really get him ticked off and you really think less of him and you belittle him, he snaps. Like he tends to, and not even tends to, he does in the very beginning, right, killing her brother. He does it later on. I don't remember the guy's name, but like one of the family members, right, he calls him Penguin. He belittles him and he like sticks the gun in his mouth or whatever, like in the bedroom. So you got that. And then you also have the brothers, right? Like they go down there, not necessarily on purpose, but like they force him to go on the ladder. He almost falls. He doesn't like, and he gets kind of emotionally triggered and he shuts the door and he just walks away. So for me, like, that's why I thought he did it. I don't think he did it in that moment to be closer with his mom or to have his mom all to himself. That's how she sees it. I think that's okay. But that's just one thing. The only other, I'd say there's maybe 2 other parts to the entire show that I didn't really like all that much. I'll just say those and everything else is positive. So one is how fast he does like the Bliss Empire. That one was kind of surprising. I don't even remember if that was like episodes 5 going into 6. It was somewhere in the like early second half. But, he turns on the generator, right? He talks to Victor about, like, okay, this is what we're going to be doing. And then all of a sudden, the next episode, he literally has just a workforce down there. And then I think they jump ahead months, right? I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. Because they say he's got all these networks and Sophia and Sal can't find him, right? Like, they can't track him, or if they see one of the guys, like, they just tend to disappear. So, I mean, I love the arcs that they did, because really, the first half of it was really setting up a lot of relationships, and I love the episode where Sophia and Oz were, like, on the same team. I thought there'd be more to, and that actually is kind of, like, the tragic part of his character, when he's her driver, right? And then he ends up, like, ratting her out to try to, like, move up, and that's how she sees it. I was really hoping / expecting that to not be. I was almost rooting for like the good side of him, where it's like, no, he does care about her, and he did care about her back then, but like something, it was a misunderstanding, like something happened. But in reality, no, this is just the kind of guy he is. Like he's held together from his love for his mom and trying to give her the world, right? He talks about, in those flashbacks, what he wants to give her, and that is just freaking, the last episode was so like thematic, like it had all these different themes from the entire season, right? So she gets what she wants, but he also takes away from her his biggest promise, right? He at one point promised her, to be able to sit up and watch the whole city and all that stuff, right? Have everything she ever wanted. In a lot of ways, that's true. He did actually give that to her, but he promised when she asked, right? If she's ever in this state where like the memory thing has become such an issue, she wants him to take her out, and he promises her, and he takes away that biggest. She's in a vegetative state. She's just in her freaking bed, and she's not there, and I don't want to get too deep into like, that kind of thing like in real life, but that's just so freaking sad. Now, there was a ton of emotion. I thought I was so tense when they were all together and he would not tell his mom that he killed the brothers and they were going to chop off her. I mean, oh my God. And, she just screams at him and says, I effing knew, I knew all along, and stabs him with the bottle. Unreal. Like literally, I love that so much. And again, like thematically, like those things were just so, I think, perfectly done, because it's the culmination of all of this stuff, right? Like it comes together where you get hints of like the kind of guy he is, and you get like the ups and downs, and they're building relationships and his kind of empire, right, getting him bigger and stuff. But when it comes down to it, like he won't even look his mom in the face and tell her what happened, because he's told, and at least this is my opinion, because he's told the lie so much. Like I think there's a part of him that genuinely believes it, or he's just way too stubborn to ever admit it. But that is part of his character, right? Like everything has been done to him. He didn't cause anything else. He thinks of himself as the working man, right? Like the man of the people. When Sophia says that, like I think he agrees with that, right? When they're in the car and she tells him that, he likes that. He wants to, he thinks he is that, right? Just in the first place. So even though she's mocking him, that is legitimately how, he sees himself. So it's just unreal, like honestly. And what he does to Victor, I mean, oh my God. Now, I did kind of see that coming. That's not actually the only other weakness besides like him, I think, growing the empire too quick. Because again, like overnight, he's suddenly like up like 3 pedestals, right? It's like, okay, I don't really know how that happened so quickly, or why you skipped that part of it. The only other part is Sophia really does kind of become just this tropey type villain in the last episode. She is such a complex character. She's amazing, okay? And what they do with her, with the Arkham kind of arc that they did, I think in episode 4. Like, she's so good, and she's deep, right? The thing that's actually disappointing is then in episode 8, she's not, I mean, like, she's still good, but she's not as deep, right? Like, she has the opportunity to kill him. I get her angle, right? Like, I don't think she wants to hurt the mom. I don't think she wants to kill the mom, right? But she does want Oz to hurt. So I think she'd be willing to go places, but also she just wants to hear him say it. Him say, what he did to the brothers and all that. And when he breaks out and stuff, like, he just escapes. I did not see him escaping like that. I thought, like, the Triads and all those other groups, I thought Victor would bring them and they would help him, like, get out. Now, I guess, like, the other twist was, he lets himself get captured and all the heads of these different gangs get taken out by the nobodies, right? The people underneath them that were never going to get a chance. And I love that kind of theme, right? Because they're all kind of him, right? He sees himself in all these people, and he's able to kind of speak to these people. And I really love that, especially early on in the season when he's talking to Vic. And, one of my favorite scenes is when they're in the restaurant and Vic's, like, struggling to talk to the waiter. And, like, and Oz is like, you let him, you effing wait. Like, he'll speak, let him talk. And, because I think Oz sees himself so much in Vic. But I think that's kind of the beauty of it. He sees himself in a lot of these people, and that's kind of the theme, right? He's able to talk to them, he's able to relate to them, and they kind of trust him, even though he backstabs, like, everybody. In fact, he'll even backstab the same people multiple times after, like, winning them over multiple times. That's kind of, that's the habit of his, right? So I guess that's the only other part is specifically Sophia, just a little bit too, like, cartoony. I don't know, not as layered in that final episode. Things happen that I feel like she would have planned out, and if it happened to her earlier on, like episodes 5, 6, 7, it wouldn't have happened that way. Now, granted, like, she wanted out of the game. She was kind of in, like, this weird state of, again, not wanting to play the game and just leaving. She burns the house down, all that stuff. So, she gets tricked pretty easily with the Oz thing, which, I think a lot of us probably saw coming, right? And then the Victor thing, that's not a negative. I mean, I think the way that they kind of led into it was quite obvious as soon as, Victor tells him, like, he's like family to him, and I was like, oh, that's a bad move. And then you could even see in Oz's face, I think, at that time. But then, Oz says, he's not taking him with him. And as soon as he said that, I was like, oh, this is it. And it's just kind of how is he going to take him out? And sad. I read a bunch of interviews, and they likened it to, like, that's where Oz is basically ripping out his heart, right? Because he got exploited with his mom, and he's never going to let that happen again, or he doesn't want that to happen again. So he sees Vic as basically a liability because he knows he cares about him, and he knows Vic cares about Oz, and it's like, okay, well, if something were to ever happen, like, you could weaken him by going after that relationship. So he has to tear out that relationship. And I mean, again, like, I keep mentioning the acting, but Colin Farrell's so unbelievably good. Like, he gets you to actually like him so much, so many times. And then, yeah, you see, like, the evil, and you're like, okay, I remember he's, like, the villain. He is a Batman villain, but he's also kind of cool, and but he does some terrible stuff. And things like that, like, you just didn't need to do that, right? Like, you won. You beat Sophia. He outsmarted her. He did a great job, and I was rooting for him to beat her. And then, then he does that, and it's like, man. But, you could tell, like, even in his face, like, he had like this weird smile when he was doing it. And I mean, like, yeah, I think that's when he turns, right? That's when he kind of loses. I don't know how you would do a season 2. Like, I would want one, but at the same time, it's like, this guy's no longer even remotely good, right? Like, there was a part of him, and maybe with his mom, because he checks in on her maybe, like, every day, right? He's got the classic outfit, which is cool. He makes the girl at the end dress like the mom and talk like the mom, and that was emotionally, I think, very, very powerful as well, right? Where I think it was a little on the nose, because I think we all kind of, like, we didn't need him to say it. I mean, you can correct me if I'm wrong, right? But when he does everything, when he pulls it off, when he, bribes the councilman and all that jazz, and, he goes in, he's telling his mom, hey, look in the news, like, I did all of that. That was me. And, he's crying and saying, like, tell me that you love me. Tell me that I did good, or that you're proud of me. And, that was an emotional scene, and I think he acted the life out of it in the greatest way. I'm saying that as a positive. Like, he did a 10 out of 10 job. the thing is, I don't know if he actually needed to say those things. I mean, I guess he probably would say those things in the moment, but it's like, I liked the theme where it's, at the end of the day, whether he really believes it or not, like he wants to be loved. I guess that's one of the things. Like he wants that, he wants his mom to say those things, okay? At the end of the day, that's that. Whether he cares about her as much as he says he does, which Sophia kind of picked up on, right? Where it's like, how much do you even care about your mom? No matter what the answer to that is, he wanted his mom, to be on his side and to say those things. And for his mom to not be able to because she's in that coma, right? It's like, that hurt, that hurt emotionally. And ultimately, I think that pushes him to do the thing with Victor. I think if that didn't happen, I don't think he does it, right? But amazing. I mean, like the idea, as I said, I was reading interviews, and like the idea of the show was to make him like a powerhouse and to basically put him on Batman's radar where he's like a big deal. He is. I mean, like, he's much more complex than I think maybe most comic villains you've ever seen in your life at this point now. But he's up there. Like he's not an amazing fighter. He's got a pretty good shot. Like he uses guns quite often, right? But like this is a guy who's now very, very powerful. He's got a lot of money. He's taken out pretty much all competition. Everything runs through him. Like he should be on Batman's radar. And I would have said before in fact, I was saying in my head at least, going into episode 8, my number one thing is I just didn't want him to get like arrested and go to Arkham. Now, like the way the episode was going, I didn't think that was going to happen. And ironically, Sophia ended up in Arkham, and you gets the letter from Selina, right? So that's fun. And that's a cool little future prospect there. But after episode 8, it's like, okay, well, we know he's in like 4 or 5 scenes in the Batman Part 2. It's like, okay, well, is he going to get arrested? Because now it's like, well, he is bad. He's a very bad man. Any kind of good in him is probably like with his mom now in like a coma like state. The only way I think he has even a remote part of like humanity left is if his mom were to ever wake up. And I think that's like one of the tragic truths of the show, like how Victor kind of was always meant to not be there, right? Like he was eventually going to die no matter what, right? Because it's just that wasn't going to work. And I think everybody, including us, knew that, including probably Oz, right? I think he knew that it had a life cycle or a lifespan that just was going to end. There's a lot of tragic truths in the entire show. And one of them, at the end is I just don't think his mom's ever going to wake up. And I think she's stuck like that. And he's going to be in this constant delusional state, I guess, until she dies. And then, like, I don't even know what he does after that. But he's already kind of lost her. So I don't know if it would get worse, if it would kind of stay the same. But it's incredible. It's what a freaking show. Acting, action, like it had action, but honestly, for me, it really was like the plot, it was the twist, it was the emotion, it was the characters. Like this did so good, I think, as a Penguin story, like doing that. But it also, I thought it was a great like gangster or mafia show. I love that stuff just in general. Like I think it just did so good, really, for whatever kind of show you needed it to be. I think it did it. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. Make sure, as always, you're subscribed to the channel, bell icon turned on, and I hope to see you all on the next one.